Hello friends, welcome back to Easy Nurse with another amazing video of first year GNM Anatomy, Physiology and Microbiology. So in this session, today I'll be discussing about what are the important questions of anatomy, physiology and microbiology is there. And I'm going to teach you I'm going to make you learn in the simplest way possible so that you don't have to go back to your previous notes, previous boring notes and books, okay? You can just learn by this video. Okay, so let's just start with anatomy and physiology. We will see and we will try to solve some normal questions, okay, some 1 mark question. Later we will go deeper in the video. Okay, so first we will talk about fill in the blank. So as you know, in your examination paper there will be 1 mark question in which there will be true and false, and there will be fill in the blanks. Other than that, there will be 3 marks, 4 marks, 7 marks question. Okay, in between that, what are the topics are important, I will discuss it later. Let's just do some revision. Okay, so first question is the functional unit of the kidney. So we know nephron is actually the function unit of the kidney. Why it is? Because nephron is actually filtering the urine. The next one is the largest gland in the human body is actually liver. The number of bones an adult human normally a child, okay, who is not mature or who is not adult, okay, he is actually have more bones, okay, but a adult who is more than 80 years of old, okay, so he will be having total 206 bones. So next question is the heart is enclosed in a membrane which is called as, so we know the layer of the heart or the covering of the heart is called as pericardium, okay, which is the superficial layer of the heart. Next come to the master gland of the endocrine system. So we know pituitary gland is actually, the pituitary gland will actually handle the all endocrine system, okay, so it is called as the master gland of the endocrine system, also for our body as well. Okay, so this question have came 2-3 times, okay, so try to remember this. Next one is the process of exchange gases in lungs is called as respiration. Okay, then the white part of the eye is called as sclera. The normal body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius or 37.4 to be precise. Next, the smallest bone in the body is stapes. And now where the stapes is present? Inside our ear, okay, in the innermost part of the ear. The last question is the red pigment in RBC. Why our RBC or why our bloods are red? Okay, blood is actually red because of RBC. And why RBC or red blood cells are actually red? It is because of the hemoglobin, which hemoglobin is also including the iron. Okay, so this is actually because of the hemoglobin. So this is the fill in the blanks. Next we will move on to the true or false. Okay, whatever you can answer or you can guess, please try to guess it. Okay, so the next one is the brain is protected by the skull, which is true. Okay, our protection part of brain is skull. Next, arteries carry blood towards the heart, which is false, because the arteries actually carry oxygenated blood away from the heart, okay, to the tissues. The pancreas is actually secrete insulin, okay, which is again true. Then the diaphragm helps in respiration, which is true, because while respiration, the inhalation and exhalation process, diaphragm is the muscle which actually lifts, okay, or helps to, you know, concise the lung, and then again helps the lung to be relaxed while taking the oxygen or the air inside. Okay, so diaphragm helps the respiration. This is true. Next is RBC helps in blood clotting, which is false, because actually the platelets are helps in clotting. Okay, and white blood cells are actually act as a, you know, immune defense system. Then the liver stores biles, which is called actually bile stored or bile product, bile salt, everything is stored by the gallbladder. Liver actually produced it. From where? Liver will produce it from the destroying the mature blood cells, okay, which is more than 120 days or nearby the 120 days. So liver will start destroying them, and they will make it as bilirubin, biliverdin, and another bile products. Come to next point, neurons. Neurons are the structural unit of the brain, which is very true. But if options are there, okay, and if they have given you MCQ, neurons including with neuroglia, okay, they both are actually the structural unit. But if it is functional unit, if you say, the most important one will be neurons. The next one is the spinal cord is a part of central nervous system, which is again true. Brain and spinal cord both come to central nervous system. The next question is the heart has 2 chambers. It is very false, because we know it have 4 chambers, okay, 2 ventricles, 2 atrium, right and left. The thyroid gland produces thyroxine. This is very true, okay. T3, T4 both are secreted by thyroid gland. So our true false is also over. Now let's move on to the main topics. So our first one is organelles of human cells. So before going into deeper, okay, we will learn about human cells. So what is this? Each cell or tiny so cell is actually the structural and functional unit of our human body, okay. So cell, so to understand we will see, so our human body is made up of systems. Systems are made up of organs. Organs are made up of tissues, and tissues are made up of cells, okay. So when many cells will come together and make a tissue, then tissue will come together and make a organ, and different organ will come together and make a system. Then all systems of the body will make a human body, okay. Understood, right? This is a very easy concept, okay. You don't have to remember that, but just remember the core concept, so that whenever the question will come, you can explain it by yourself. So what is organelles? Okay, organelles are completely different. When we are counting in a human body different organs, then we will call it like different parts which have a specific work, we will call it as organs. But when we are doing it in a lower manner, or we are doing it for cells, a particular microscopic cells, then we will call it as organelles. So each cell has tiny organs which is called as organelles, each with a specific job that keeps the cells alive and working efficiently. Okay, so what are these? This includes mitochondria, cell membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus, DNA, endoplasmic reticulum, lysosome, ribosome, and Golgi body. Let's talk about nucleus first. This is the most important part of the cell. So it actually works as a control center. So whatever the work will be present, chemical, physical, whatever the work will be there, like transforming of ions, okay, transforming of nutrients and all, everything will be controlled by the nucleus, and it is also stored the DNA and regulates all cell activities. Come to mitochondria, it is actually the powerhouse of the cells which produce the ATP. The endoplasmic reticulum have 2 parts, which is rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Rough will actually make the protein, and smooth endoplasmic reticulum will make lipids and detoxify the cells. Next, come to Golgi apparatus. So Golgi apparatus is actually a package and transport the protein, okay, it helps to transport the protein. Then cytoplasm, it is actually fluid that holds the organelles or support in the reaction, okay. So just think of an egg, okay. So in egg there will be egg yolk, right? Now egg yolk, think it as a nucleus. In between that different organelles are there. Now the egg white will be considered as cytoplasm, understood? Okay. Cell membrane, the eggshell, you can think this is cell membrane. It helps to protect the cell and controls what whatever enters and whatever leaves the cell body. Then ribosome, it is actually build the protein of the cell. And lastly, lysosome actually helps to break down waste and the old products of the cell. So understood about the cell? This is very easy. You have studied for, from childhood and all. So no need to go deeper. Just give a thorough revision through this video. And whatever will come, okay, whatever the confusions will come, you can comment in the box, okay, in the YouTube comment box. I will be happy to answer. The next question is nervous system. Okay, so first we have to know what are the parts of the nervous system. So in the parts of the nervous system, we have actually two types of nervous system, central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. In the central nervous system, we have brain and spinal cord. So there are main parts in the brain are cerebrum, cerebellum, temporal lobe, frontal lobe, hypothalamus, brainstem. Okay. So let's learn about spinal cord and this. Okay, it came for 4 marks last 2 years ago. Okay, so the structure of the spinal cord, let's learn about that. So structure of the spinal cord is actually a cylindrical structure, okay, which is existing. It will be like if it is a brain, okay. Okay. So if we cut from this, the view will be like this. Okay. So it is actually a cylindrical structure which will be extended from the brain stem to the lumbar region of our body structure, like from the head, okay, after the cranial part, okay, our structure, our spinal cord, that bone structure will come right up to the hip. So the lumbar region, up to the lumbar region, actually our spinal cord is there. Now it is enclosed with vertebral column for the protection. And now to protect this, it have a bone structure around this, which is called as vertebral column. Okay, understood, right? If you don't understood, just leave a comment so I can answer you guys. Okay, so it divided into 31 segments and each given a rise or a pair of spinal nerves. Now each of the pair will give you a pair of like two spinal nerves. Okay, now they have 3 types of part in spinal cord. Now if you will see, the structure is something like this, okay, and in between this the spinal cord is present. Now they have 3 matters. Okay, this is just a gross example. I will explain you in detail. So first we have gray matter, which is butterfly shaped. Okay, so we have gray matter which is butterfly shaped. Okay, then this butterfly shaped central area is actually contains nerve cells bodies. Okay, nerve cells bodies is contained by gray area. Now white matter surrounds the gray matter. Okay, sorry, okay, actually okay, so actually gray matter is the innermost part, okay, and this is covered by the nerve cell bodies. Okay, this is covered by the nerve cell bodies. Now come to the white matter. It is actually surrounding the gray matter, okay, and it is surrounded by gray matter, and it will contain the myelin nerve fibers. If you can imagine, or if you can remember the nerve structure, you can understand. Okay, I will, if you have problem, I will discuss it later, this too. Okay, so it will be covering the gray matter. Now coming to central canal, this is a small canal in the center, okay, which will contain the cerebrospinal fluid. Now in the center of the spinal cord, we will have cerebrospinal fluid. Understood, right? And at the outside, as we know, everything is covered by some layer. Okay, heart is covered by pericardium, then our lungs is covered by pleura. So our brain and spinal cord is also covered by some layer which is called as meninges. Now it is a protective layer which is including dura mater, acnoid matter and pia mater. Now what are the functions of the spinal cords are there? The main functions are it transmits the nerve impulses between the brain and the body. Okay, so how it will be done? Okay, see, if it is a spinal cord, just a gross structure. It is a spinal cord, and what we have learned, each section, like it have 31 section. Okay, so each section have 2 nerves. Okay, both sides they have two nerves, and that will be connecting our whole body. Okay, our whole system. So each nerve will sending impulses from the body to brain through the junction of the spinal cord and those nerves, and from the brain they will again send electrical impulse and whatever the response are through the spinal cord. Okay, so this is the main important function. Okay, try to remember this. Next one is coordinate the reflex action. Okay, sometimes we know we have 2 types of action, right? One is voluntary, one is involuntary. Like in the babies, if you see the bowel control, okay, or the bladder control is involuntary. Okay, because the muscle will not be strengthened, but as they will grow and as they will strengthen their muscle, okay, bladder muscle and all, they have a control over their urination and feces. Okay, so again, like if a dust particle is coming inside my eyes, okay, without not knowing in my conscious mind, what I will do, I will close my eyes. Okay, because the dust is coming. This is an involuntary movement. Okay, now if you are trying to keep a hand on the candle, okay, on the burning candle, what it will do, it will create burn in your skin, right? So at that time you will be sensible, whatever the nerves will be there in your hand, they will be sending message to your brain. Okay, brain will be sense that, and immediately brain will tell to keep the hand up. Okay, so this is actually the reflex action. Okay, voluntary, involuntary. So spinal cord also helps to coordinate and reflex the action. Then it also integrate the sensory and motor function in the sense whatever the actions we are doing, and sensory function in the sense whatever the feelings we are getting. Okay, whatever like cold, touch, or the hot, okay, everything. Next is nervous system. So next in the nervous system we will learn about the 12 cranial nerves. So in the 12 cranial nerve, in easy way how we can study, and there will be O3 because we have olfactory, optic and oculomotor. Sorry. T2 because we have trochlear and trigeminal. Then A because we have abducens. F for facial nerve. Sorry, A2 for abducens and accessory. F for facial nerves. G for glossopharyngeal, and lastly V for vagus and vestibulocochlear. Okay, G2. So it is O3, T2, A2, F, G2. Okay, so this is the simplest formula to remember the cranial nerves. Now come to O, we have olfactory, right? So olfactory is actually help us to sense the smell. Okay, whatever bad smell, good smell is coming, we can sense it by the olfactory nerves. Optic nerves helps in the vision. Oculomotor is also including in the eye movement, pupil constriction and all. Cochlear, come to T2. Cochlear and trigeminal. Cochlear is actually helps in the moves of the eye downward and laterally. Now here is a point, if the question come, okay, like which nerves are actually involved in the eye movement or eye function, you have to call it out. 4 nerves, okay, optic, oculomotor, cochlear and abducens. Abducens I'll discuss later, just wait. Okay, next is trigeminal. So trigeminal is the 5th nerve, okay, which is control the facial sensation, chewing and the muscles of the face. Come to abducens, it actually helps for the lateral eye movement, okay, from here to here. This movement is controlled by the abducens. Now facial, actually the facial nerves help for the facial expression, taste, okay, especially the anterior. If you see the tongue, so if you see the tongue, this have this structure, right? So the two-third part of the tongue, okay, the 2/3 of the tongue will be controlled by the facial nerve. Next is vestibulocochlear. It is obviously everyone knows, okay, vestibulocochlear is present inside our ear, okay. It is not only helps in the hearing, okay, hearing in the sense how it helps to pass the electrical impulse, okay, to the brain from the bones, okay, the vibration of the bones, the stapes and all, okay, it will get that and it will transfer it to the brain, okay. So the hearing and balance also is controlled by the vestibulocochlear. Come to glossopharyngeal. It is actually it actually helps in the posterior part, like 1/3 part of the tongue and also for not only for taste but also for swallowing, okay, this 1/3 part. Okay, come to vagus. It is again a facial nerves, but it also helps in the heart rate, digestion and voice. Accessory nerves is actually for the shoulder and neck movement, okay. Lastly, hypoglossal, which is helps in tongue movement, okay. So these are the 12 cranial nerves. So many questions have came from this particular topic, okay. I can assure you at least 1 to 2 question will definitely come from the exam. It can be they will ask like what are the cranial nerves, mention the cranial nerves, their position and their action, or what are the functions of them, or they can ask 2 marks, what is the action of vagus nerve, or okay, or they can ask what are the nerves are there which control the eye movements and eye function, okay. So always try to remember this. This is very important question again, okay. Come to neurons. As we are learning the nervous system, we have to know about neurons, right? So this is the structural and functional unit. A neuron is the functional unit of nervous system, okay, and that transmit the electrical impulses from body to the brain, from the brain to the body. So if you look at the structure, we have the body of the neuron, where in the upside we have dendrites. In the this part is axon. We have axon terminals. In between that we have Schwann cells, myelin sheath, node of Ranvier, cell body, nucleus, and let's just discuss one by one. First is cell body, okay. So cell bodies actually contains the nucleus and organelles, okay. Whatever the organelles should be there in a particular cell, a normal cell, that will be there in the cell body, okay. This is the cell body, don't forget it, this is the cell body, okay, and it maintains the cell function and metabolic activities. Come to dendrites, these parts, okay. Come to dendrites, these are the branch-like extension, and it receives the signals, okay, other neurons toward the cell body, okay. Towards the cell body it will receive the signals, okay. Come to axons. Axons are actually long fiber. I have mentioned here already axons. So this long fibers will actually carry impulses away from the cell body, okay. So the impulses will be come from cell body to the axons and they will transfer it to the next neuron or the next cell. Okay, now axon terminals. Now what are those? Axon terminals are like kind of like dendron structure, but it's not like that. It is a synaptic ending between two neurons. Okay, if you see two neuron junction, okay, the axons will be the terminals, and it transmits signals to other neurons, muscle or glands. Okay, lastly, node of Ranvier. This is very important, 2 marks question can come from this. Okay, this is actually the gaps of myelin sheath. There will be a myelin sheath. Okay, so it is the gap between the myelin sheath which actually speed the impulse of conduction, which will speed up the impulse of conduction. So if in a axon, if in a neuron, if you find the body structure is like just like this, okay, there will be dendrites and there will be no Schwann cells or no myelin sheath. Okay, so there will be no nodes of Ranvier, and if there will be no nodes of Ranvier, or there will be actually no gaps in between that, at that time what will happen? The speed will be reduced. The speed of impulse conduction will be reduced for the neuron. So this is about the neuron. Let's talk about the functions. So what are the main function of neurons? We have already heard some. Let's discuss it. So it is actually transmit the electrical impulses from one part of the body to the another part of body. Okay, now voluntary for the voluntary movements. Okay, it coordinates reflex, sensation and communicate with muscle and glands for the action. Now come to skeletal system. So skeletal system is all about the bones. Okay, bones also including the joints. Okay, so we have cranial bones, then we have vertebral column which is holding the spinal cord, we have rib cage. In the hand we have humerus, radius, ulnus, carpal, metacarpal and phalanges. Come to next part, we have pelvis. Okay, after the pelvic girdle we have our legs, which will include femur, tibia and fibula. Okay, femur, tibia and fibula. And in the leg, the foot of the leg, what we will found? We will found tarsal, metatarsal and phalanges. Okay, other than that, in the joint part of this, only in the joint part of this knees, okay, femur and tibia, fibula, you can find the flat bone which is also called as patella. Okay, and in the back of our shoulder, okay, you can find a triangular bone which is also called as scapula. Okay, scapula, my bad. Okay, which is also called as scapula. So let's learn about it. So what is actually skeleton system is? A skeleton system is actually the framework of the body made of bones and cartilage. What are the main functions? The main function of a bone, like what is the main function of bricks to make a house? What is the main function? To support, right? So for our bone also, this is actually to support the body structure. Next, to protect the vital organs, especially for like pelvis, it protects a bladder and all. For our cranial skull, it protects our brain. Okay, rib cage, it protects our lungs and heart. Okay, so there are different skulls, or different bones which will protect our organ. Then it enables the movement with the muscle and the joint. It helps us to move. It stores the minerals like calcium and phosphorus. Also, the bone marrow in the bones will produce the red blood cell, which helps to increase our blood. So these are the main function of blood. Next, come to types of bones. Now there are different types of bone according to the structure. Okay, we have flat bone, short bone, sigmoid bone, long bone and irregular bone. So first come to long bones. So the longer and the wider bone will be called as long bone, which will be mainly supporting the weight and the movement, such as humerus, which is placed in our upper arm, and femur, which is placed in our leg. Okay, and this is the longest bone. Actually, femur is the longest bone in our body. Next come to short bones. Short bones are actually mainly cube shaped, okay, which is provide the stability in some movements such as carpals and tarsals. Now carpals and tarsals where we can found in the sole of the hand and in the sole of the leg. Okay, in the palms we can found carpal and in the legs we can found tarsals. Okay, next is flat bones. Now where we can found, these are the thin and broad bones, okay, which will protect the organs and allow the muscles attachment. Already I told the flat bone is there in our head, okay, it is for protection of our brain. And in the sternum, in the middle of our rib cage, we have sternum to protect the heart and all. Okay, so this is sternum is also here, this is the sternum. Okay, so this is also a flat bone. Come to irregular bones, we have different kind of shapes, okay, which is not actually defined as a particular or a specific shape. Okay, so these are the complex shapes which are special functions such as vertebra. Okay, you can find here vertebra, then facial bones and all. Lastly, sesamoid bones. These are the irregular bones. This I say no, vertebra. Okay, in the back of the rib cage you can see. Okay, so come to sesamoid bones. These are embedded tendons and reduce friction. Okay, this is actually made for the body to reduce the friction, such as patella, which is present in our knee. Okay, so this is about the types of bone. Next come to joints. So now we have different types of joint. Let's discuss it. So joints are actually the point where two bones meet, okay, and allow the movement. There are different classification of joints. We have fibrous joint, the bone joined by fibrous tissue, example as skull bones, and these are non-movable. Okay, next is cartilaginous, which is slightly movable, okay, and the bones are joined by the cartilage, example as vertebral joint. You can find in the vertebral column. Okay, you can find in the vertebral column. Sorry, this is the lumbar column. Okay, next is synovial, and both vertebral and lumbar column both have actually this slightly movable joint, okay, which is joined by the cartilage. Next come to synovial joint. Now synovial joints are truly movable, okay, they can freely move. Okay, they have the synovial cavity, a capsule which include fluid, example as our elbow, our knees. Okay, and lastly the synovial joint types. Now in synovial joints we have different types. Okay, what are those? Okay, so what are those? They are hinge joint. What is a hinge joint? Hinge joint is come under the elbow joint. Okay, hinge joint is come under the elbow joint. Next is ball and socket joint. You can see it in the pelvis area where our femur and pelvis is attached. Okay, then pivot joint. Pivot joint is in between the C and C2 of vertebra. Okay, C and C2 of vertebra, here in the back side of the rib cage you can see. Then saddle joint. Then saddle joints, which is between the trapezium and carpal bone of the first metacarpal bone. Okay, if you see the hand, we have carpal and metacarpal, right? This up to this is metacarpal. So, and these small toes are phalanges. So in the carpal and metacarpal, in between the joints are actually called as the saddle joint. Okay, you can see how I am moving and see the picture. You can understand this will be moved like this. Understood? So this is saddle joint. Next is plain joint, okay, which is between the tarsal bones. Okay, in between the small two tarsal bones. No, these are actually this joints. Okay, in the legs also you can find these joints are actually called as plain joint. And lastly, condyloid joint. Now what is condyloid joints? It is between the radius and the carpus bone. Now humerus, radius, ulnar. Okay, so here in the in the next short arm, what you'll find, the big bone. We have two bones now, and the sizes are different. One bone is more thick and one bone is little thin. Okay, so humerus, the radius one actually thick one. So the joint between the radius and the carpal bone is called as the condyloid joint. Okay, so I have discussed the joints. I hope there is no confusion. If you still have confusion, just put a comment. Okay, I will try to give you answer if you have any questions, but I think you can understand, right? This is very simple questions I am discussing. Next is cardiovascular system. I know you guys are very interested about that, because that seems to be very difficult, but once you will hear and once you will learn or once you will study, it will be not that much difficult. Okay, so I'll just give a quick reminder because everyone knows previously. Okay, so what is the location? It is actually placed in the mediastinum between the lungs behind the sternum. So we have seen the rib cage, right? And where the sternum is placed, so just behind that we have our heart. Okay, and in between two lungs, it is actually, heart is little left sided, tilted. Okay, it's not fully on the left side, but it is tilted in the left side. Okay, it is cone shaped and weigh around 250 to 350 grams in the adults. So we have three layers of the heart. Okay, epicardium, myocardium and endocardium. Okay, don't confuse pericardium with it. Pericardium is the covering layer. Okay, try to remember it. Now epicardium is the outer protective layer. Myocardium, which is a thin, thick muscular layer, and the contraction, the main part of the heart work is actually myocardium. Sorry, heart is actually myocardium, and this helps for the pumping blood. Endocardium, which is the inner layer in the lining chambers. Now we have four chambers, which is right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium and left ventricle. So from the body, the CO2 blood will come through the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava to the right ventricle. Okay, sorry, right atrium. Okay, so when it will come, so it will come in the right ventricle. After, sorry, right atrium. Now right atrium, from the right atrium, it will press the deoxygenated blood to right ventricle, which will pump the deoxygenated blood to the lungs through the pulmonary artery. Okay, it will send where? It will send deoxygenated blood to the lungs, okay, to get the oxygen. When from lungs, okay, just think about lungs. Now lungs have changed the oxygenated blood into deoxygenated blood into oxygen. Okay, now what will happen? Now this oxygenated blood will be come into the right atrium through the pulmonary veins. Okay, you can see here, from the lungs through the pulmonary veins, it is coming inside the left atrium. So always remember, when our body is first actually receiving the blood, it is like deoxygenated blood our heart is receiving, right? So it will first come under atrium for the left side as well. When they are collecting the oxygen from the lung, it is first coming inside the left atrium. The atrium will always receive the blood first. Okay, so never ever forget that. It is the very easiest way you can remember how the blood circulation is going on inside your heart. Okay, so it is coming under the right atrium, then it is pushing it to the right ventricle. Right ventricle will push it to through the pulmonary artery, it will send it to the deoxygenated blood, it will send it to the lungs. Lungs will exchange the gas, they will send the oxygenated blood to the left atrium. Left atrium is the first one who is receiving the oxygenated blood. Now from the left atrium, it will pump the oxygenated blood, okay, it will oxygenate the it will pump the oxygenated blood into the left ventricle, and left ventricle will pump the blood through the aorta to spread it to the whole body. I hope you guys have understand. Once again I am clearing you out. First from the body, it will come to superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Okay, inferior vena cava, right atrium receiving the blood, it is sending to the right ventricle receiving the blood, and it is sending to the lungs through what? Through the pulmonary arteries. Okay, pulmonary arteries to lungs. From the lungs, the gas exchange will happen and the oxygenated blood. Up to here, this part will be all around the CO2 blood. Okay, and come after when the gas exchange will happen. Now from here the oxygenated blood will move. Okay, oxygenated blood. Now the oxygenated blood will move from lungs, okay, through the pulmonary veins. It will come to the left atrium. From the left atrium, it will move down to the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, it will be delivered to the body. Okay, so this is the circulation. I hope I have explained it very simple way so you guys can understand. Okay, other than that, in between which we have valves, we have two types of valves: atrioventricular valves and semilunar valves. Atrioventricular valves have two types, okay, which is tricuspid right valve and mitral valve to prevent black flow into the atria. Okay, this one. Okay, then semilunar valves, which is pulmonary and aortic valve to prevent the black flow into the ventricles. Okay, so this is about the cardiovascular system. Come to the circulation of blood. So as I've already told, in the pulmonary circulation, the right ventricle will send to pulmonary artery. From that it will travel through the lungs. From that it will travel through the pulmonary veins, left atrium. In the systemic circulation, from the left ventricle there will be aorta. So what is actually happening, it can be confusing. Okay, they can ask what is pulmonary circulation, what is systemic circulation. You can confuse it, don't confuse it. Okay, why? Because what is pulmonary circulation? Pulmonary circulation is actually from when the right ventricle is receiving the deoxygenated blood and sending the oxygenated blood to the left atrium is called as pulmonary circulation. Okay, as systemic circulation, when the left ventricle is sending the oxygenated blood through the aorta, okay, to the body tissues, oxygenated blood, and again from that they will collect the deoxygenated blood from the after gaseous exchange in the cells. It is receiving the CO2 blood and giving it to the right atrium. This process is called as systemic circulation. Okay, so this is over. I guess this you have understood, right? If you have any confusion still now, you can message. Next we will come to the blood and lymphatic system. So to understand blood, we have to know what is the composition. So blood is made up of 45% of formed elements and 55% of plasma. What is plasma? Plasma is actually including water, protein, albumin, globulin, protein including albumin, globulin, fibrinogen. Okay, this also comes in exam for 1 mark. Okay, other than that, water, electrolytes and nutrients. In the formed elements of 45% RBCs, which we have 3 types of cells, blood cells, which are RBCs, WBCs and white blood cells. Red blood cells actually helps for oxygen transport because it have hemoglobin and iron. Okay, iron is only included in the hemoglobin. Okay, then white blood cells, which helps in the immunity, work as a defense system of body, and platelets, which helps in the blood clotting. Now come to functions. Blood actually helps in transport oxygen CO2 nutrients, regulation of temperature, pH, water, protection of the clotting, and work as a immunity system. Then come to coagulation. How coagulation actually happens. So first, what will happen? Vascular spasm. Due to that, platelet will plug into that particular area. There will be fibrin mesh will be start forming, okay, and the clot retraction will happen. After the clot, they will start repairing the cells and they will regenerate the cells, or they will replace the cells with the fibrous tissue. So this is the process of a coagulation and repair. Come to respiratory system. So respiratory system mainly is including, the main organ of respiratory system is lung, but it's including two parts, which is upper respiratory tract and lower respiratory tract. Upper respiratory tract is including nose, mouth, then pharynges, okay, and nasopharynx, okay, this and all, and the lower respiratory tract, also trachea, and lower respiratory tract is including esophagus, lungs, including the lungs, bronchioles, alveoli, okay. So we will see how the mechanism of respiration happens. So it is actually done by inhalation and exhalation. Inhalation is inspiration of the gas, exhalation is expiration of the gas, okay. So what will happen? First, diaphragm will contract, okay, diaphragm will contract and flatten downwards, okay, and the external intercostal muscle, it will contract, okay. This is expansion, this is abduction. So it will contract and flattens downwards. So what will happen? Lungs can be expand. The external intercostal muscle lifts the rib upward and outward. So, and the thoracic cavity volume will increase. So the lungs pressure will decrease and the airflow into the lungs can happen. In the exhalation process, the diaphragm actually relax, okay, it will be relaxed and move upwards, okay. So the ribs will move down, okay, ribs will move down because of the low volume, okay, sorry, because of the increased volume. So thoracic cavity volume will be decreases, okay, and lungs volume will be increases. So the air, the deoxygenated blood or CO2 will be outside of the body. So this is the mechanism of respiration. Now gas exchange, it actually occur in between the alveoli via the diffusion method. Oxygen moves from alveoli to the blood. The carbon dioxide moves from the blood to alveoli and exhale through our body. Come to digestive system. We have alimentary canal, which is including GI tract or gastrointestinal tract, which is start from the mouth, then pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum, and anus. Accessory organs of digestive system include liver, pancreas, gallbladder, and salivary gland. So what are the functions? Functions are ingestion, propulsion, digestion, absorption, and defecation. Okay, so functions are only important. Try to remember these names only. That is enough. You can explain by yourself. Okay. Come to urinary system. Now urinary system, the main part of the urinary system is kidney, although we have ureter, ureters, urethral canal. Okay. So the structure is of the kidneys are actually bean shaped, which is organ located in the retroperitoneally. Okay. And the outer cortex is contain renal corpuscle, which include glomerulus and Bowman's capsule, which actually do the filtration process of our body fluid, and convoluted tubules. In the inner medulla, it contains loop of Henle and collecting ducts. In the renal pelvis, it will collect the urine and ureter. It will collect the urine and it will move to the ureter, and from ureter it will go to the bladder. Nephron is actually the function unit of kidney, and it have our one kidney have around 1 million of nephrons. Okay, so what are the components of kidney? Sorry, components of nephron. Extremely sorry. So the components of nephrons are glomerulus, Bowman's capsule, proximal tubule, loop of Henle, distal tubule, and collecting duct. What are the functions of nephron? Nephron is actually for the excretion of metabolic waste, okay, or if you say kidney also, it is the actually excretion of metabolic waste such as urea, creatinine, osmoregulation, which is maintain the water electrolyte balance in the body, acid-base balance, blood pressure regulation via the renin, and lastly hormone production like erythropoietin, activation of vitamin D. Now come to liver. So what is liver? Liver is the largest internal organ of our body, which is located in the upper right abdomen. Okay, in the upper right abdomen. It divided into right and left lobes such as lungs, okay, and composed of hepatocyte arranged in lobules. Okay, it connected to the bile ducts and hepatic artery and portal vein. So what is the main function of liver? The main function, it have came 2 times. Okay, this is very important. Okay, try to remember this. Okay, it produces the biles from the fat digestion, metabolic carbohydrate, protein, fats, and detoxifies harmful substances. Endocrine system, we have pituitary gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, adrenal gland, pancreas, ovaries, and testes. Now skin, we will have epidermis, dermis, hypodermis layer, and the main function is to protect the body, okay, body from the physical, chemical, and microbiological damage, helps in temperature regulation, sweat and blood flow, act as a sensory system, organs, pain, temperature, and stores the fat, water, and participate in vitamin D synthesis. So what is the structure of neck? Now we will discuss about the microbiology. It is very easy. Don't take any kind of stress. Okay, just read out. You can obviously get pass exam to exam. You can pass in exam. Okay, so bacteria is actually are the unicellular prokaryotic organism, and lacking of a true nucleus, the nucleus will be not well managed, okay, and the membrane bound organelles. So always a bacteria will have a capsule, which is slime layer, which protect the phagocytosis and the desiccation process. Okay, it have a cell wall which will be made of peptidoglycan, which will maintain the shape, such as example is gram positive thick or gram negative thin bacteria. Then cell membrane, which controls the movement of substances. Cytoplasm, which will contain the ribosome, enzyme, and nutrients. The nucleate, which will have a single circular DNA, not enclosed by any kind of membrane. Okay, then ribosomes, which is 70S protein synthesis. The plasmid will have extra cosmosal DNA carrying the resistant genes. Flagella will help in motility or moving of the bacteria. Pilia fimbriae will act as same and attachment and conjugation. And spores, which will in some bacteria it forms, it is resistant from a bacillus clostridium. Okay, now how we can sterilize, or what is the sterilization method? So first to know that sterilization is actually a destruction of all microorganisms including spores. What are the methods? The methods are alcohol, halogen, phenolic, adenine, and quaternary ammonium compounds. Okay, so alcohols have 70% ethanol, uses for skin and thermometers. Okay, halogens use examples are chlorine, iodine, which is for the water and surface. Phenolics are for the Lysol, like floor and equipments. Ethylenes are mainly used as a glutaraldehyde, used for the endoscopes. And lastly, quaternary ammonium compounds, which is also the main example of this is benzoyl chloride, which is used for general disinfection, okay, like wound and all. Next, come to disinfection. What is that? So it is actually reduces the pathogen. It is not properly or completely kill all the microorganisms, but it will reduce the pathogenic microorganism spores. Okay, and remember that before any kind of surgery and all, we need sterilization, not the disinfection. Okay, so there are different methods such as heat sterilization, dry heat, radiation, chemicals, and steriline. Sorry, I have mistake. I have done one mistake. So sterilization is actually this methods and disinfections are this. Okay. So now come to sterilization. Sterilization have different types such as heat sterilization, dry, radiation, chemical sterilants, and filtration. Heat sterilization examples are autoclave, which is done under 121 degrees Celsius in 50 PA pressure and for 15 to 20 minutes. Example are surgical instrument and dressing. The dry heat is we use the hot ware oven in 160 degrees Celsius for 1 hour, such as glassware. Radiation, we use gamma rays, UV rays for the disposable syringe, surface disinfection. Okay, chemical sterilants such as ethyl oxide, formaldehyde for rubber and plastic, which is reusable. Filtration, okay, membrane filters, which is the items mainly used at which is heat sensitive fluids. Okay, so these are the process of sterilization. Now come to hospital acquired infection, are also called as nosocomial infection. The infection acquired after 48 hours of admission in the hospital. The sources are hospital environment such as water, air, surfaces, invasive devices such as catheter, IV lines, hospital staff and patient, contaminated equipment. Now how it will transfer? It will mainly transfer through contacts, okay, direct contacts, hand or healthcare workers, airborne like droplets or TB, like tuberculosis, common vehicles such as contaminated food and water, vector-borne such as insects are very rare in hospital though, but in government hospital you can obviously see, in some hospital, not all. Okay, common hospital acquired pathogens are Staphylococcus aureus, E. coli, Pseudomonas aeruginosa. How to prevent it? We can prevent it through the hand hygiene, standard precautions, sterilization and disinfection, proper waste management, surveillance and infection control committee, and lastly limiting unnecessary catheter and IV lines and isolation of infected patient. Come to immunity. What is that? It is the body's ability to resist against the infection or any kind of ingestion of pathogens. Okay, we have two types, innate immunity and acquired. Innate immunity is actually present since the birth. It is non-specific and no memory is there. For acquired immunity, it develops after the exposures. It is very specific and has a memory. The innate immunity example are skin barrier, phagocytes, fever and inflammation. So active immunity is actually natural and artificial both. Okay, so the natural active immunity is infection, example as measles, and artificial such as vaccination, such like BCG. And passive immunity also have two types, natural and artificial. The natural one is maternal immunoglobulin G to the fetus and immunoglobulin injection for the artificial. Now come to chain of infection. So we know how the infection happens. So infection, first it will the reservoir, the infection agent like bacteria and viruses, it will come to the reservoir, humans, animals or the environment. The portal of exit will be nose, mouth or skin. Then mode of transmission will be air or contact. Then where it can through which it can entry by the IV lines or wounds. Okay, and it will enter in the susceptible host, which is immunocompromised patient. Okay, how we can break the chain of the infection? We can, for the agent we can do the sterilization antibiotic. For the reservoir we can go for the isolation and hygiene. For the portal of exit we can use the PPE kit and hand hygiene. For the transmitter we can use safe injection practices and wound care. For the host we can use the immunization and nutrition. Come to bacterial spores. Now bacterial spores are actually the dormant highly resistant structure from some gram-positive bacteria which is non-destructible, and it is from under unfavorable conditions like heat and dryness. Contains thick spore coat which is resistant from disinfection, heat, even radiation. Okay, it helps the bacteria to survive until the environments become favorable. During the favorable conditions, spores will germinate into vegetative cells, and spores will identify by special stains such as Schaeffer-Fulton method. Okay, try to remember this. Spores will identify the Schaeffer-Fulton methods. The next is Mycobacterium tuberculosis. It is a causative agent of tuberculosis. This is a very, very important question again. Okay, it is acid-fast bacilli, rod-shaped. The cell wall is actually contain mycolic acid spread by the airborne droplets. How we can diagnose it? We can diagnose it through sputum, AVF, gene expert, chest X-ray and all. How we can prevent it? We can prevent it through the BCG vaccination, cover cough, proper ventilation and DOTS therapy. What are the types of uses of culture media? We have basic media, enriched media, selective media, differential media, transport media and anaerobic media. Basic we will use for routine growth. Okay. Enriched media we use for fastidious organism, selective media we use for select one organism, differential for the differentiate microbe, transport media for safe collection and transport, and lastly anaerobic media from the anaerobes. Okay, if you have any question you can ask in the comment section, or you can just leave a message in the Easy Nurse community forum as well. Okay, I'll be there to answer. Next is biomedical waste management. What is it actually is? To process and handling the healthcare waste to prevent the infection is called as biomedical waste management. So there are some principles we have to maintain the to actually process the biomedical waste management, which are segregation at source, color coded like yellow, red, white or translucent, and blue. Yellow for human tissue and contaminated items, red for the plastic disposable IV sets, white and translucent for the sharp items like broken glasses or needles, blades, surgical blades and all, okay, syringes. Then blue for glassware and metals. Lastly, white is not for the glasses, blue is actually for the glassware and metals. Now come to safe and after the collection there should be safe transport, storage and final disposal, which will include incineration, autoclaving, shredding and deep burial as per the preference or as per the category of the waste. After that, while handling the waste management, whoever is handling should always use PPE kit to maintain the records. And before handling the waste like biomedical waste, we have to train the staff. Then growth curve of bacteria. If you put a bacteria in a culture, how it will be? Okay, so first as per the survey and all, they have seen in the first phase the bacteria will not grow. The growth will be very similar. Okay, the growth scale will be very low. Okay, so it is almost horizontal. Okay, but when they will start producing, they will suddenly bulge in number and they will suddenly increase it. It is called as log phase, and the straight line is called as lag phase. Okay, then in the stationary phase, what will happen? It will again start in the decreasing the number. Okay, it will stop the growth, and there will be death rate will be increased and nutrient depletion will start, which is called as stationary phase. And the last phase, in the decline phase, suddenly the number of the bacteria will drop, which is called as death phase. Okay, cells die due to exhaustion of nutrients. It is seen in population studies of antibiotic testing. Now, what is the difference between active and passive immunity? The source of the active immunity is exposure of vaccine, where the passive immunity is ready-made antibodies. The onset of the active immunity is slow, but the passive immunity is immediate. The duration of the active immunity is long because our cells will have a memory of that, and passive immunity is short. Examples of active immunity is measles infection such as BCG and all. An example of passive immunity is maternal antibodies and antivenoms. Okay, so we have some short question as well. Okay, so write it down fast. Okay, so name of two bacteria, tuberculosis, typhoid. Who discovered the penicillin? Alexander Fleming in 1982. It is a very important question. Define the sterilization, already have heard. Now, two viral diseases are influenza, hepatitis B. What is the pathogen? A pathogen is a disease which causing the microorganism. Okay, disease causing microorganism is called as pathogen. Name two gram-positive bacteria, Staphylococcus aureus and Streptococcus pyogenes. Okay, come to main two modes of transmission of infection, airborne and contact transmission. Define antigen and antibody. Antigen is actually the foreign substances that stimulates the antibody formation, and antibody is the protein which produced by the body to neutralize the antigen. What is culture? Culture is actually a growth. Culture is the growth of microorganism in a nutrient medium under the control of condition. What is the name of two example of fungi? There are Candida albicans and Aspergillus. Next question is, what is autoclaving? Autoclaving is actually the sterilization using steam under the pressure, which is 121 degrees C, 15 psi, 15 to 20 minutes. Two functions of normal flora is prevent growth pathogen and produce vitamin. This is also very important. Define asepsis. It is actually the free from pathogenic microorganism practice to prevent the contamination. Name of the two spore forming bacteria, which is Bacillus ambicus and Clostridium tetani. Mention the two zoonotic disease, which is rabies and plague. So that's it for today, guys. I have explained most of all common questions and whatever the important questions are there. I hope you guys have well understood about this session. See you in the next session. Till then, keep learning and keep exploring with easiness. Thank you.